Hey, it's your man, Prentice Johnson, once again with a great video. I am going to review this one. And I just want to say welcome to anybody that's listening, anybody who is in tuned. Thank you for showing up. Listen, this particular video is about slavery and continued apartheid. And they have chose from Jubilee some great topics to listen to and comprehend. Now, take a note, man. This video is literally only 25 minutes long, man. But when I start adding my commentary, this video is going to become probably an hour, possibly an hour and a half, because these people have some excellent thoughts, and I have a lot to add to these thoughts. As they are forming an understanding, and some of them have formed an understanding, I am the proof that these issues are still occurring and still existing, and many of them are not even being perpetrated by the white man, quote unquote, particularly. It's passed now down to our generation of people of melanin. So this one's called "Did Slavery Affect Your Family?" It's on the channel Jubilee, so if you want to watch the video, it's posted on my page. Take a look at it. And let's get to know some of these people and how it is that they are comprehending what's happening in the United States system.
From Africa, I came here to better my life, and I feel like personally we need to stop using the word racism when we don't get something or when something don't go our way. And just
let me jump in real quick. No disrespect, but racism exists, and I have to acknowledge it. And I can't just ignore it, but what I can do is not buy into the system.
Step forward if you agree. Slavery affected my family.
So, very simplistically, they're talking about slavery at this particular point, and it's the first part of the conversation, and it's a serious thought process. I myself believe that also slavery has affected myself as well as my family, but I have a difference of opinion as regard to how. So let's hear what the people in the commentary say.
Yeah, I mean, that's just evident in my last name, King. I mean, that's the brand of the slave owner that put that name on my family all those years ago, and I'm still wearing it in those ways, along with the compounded, economic disparity, social disparity, mental trauma, all of that. I mean, it's tethered forever.
So to go back to slavery and talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, it has never stopped. So there is no post. What my great-grandparents were teaching my grandparents, who taught my mother, who taught me, came from what they learned through slavery. So there's a lot of fear, a lot of insecurity, a fear of society, a fear of law enforcement. So slavery has made a major impact where the low self-esteem is consistently reoccurring. I think for me, growing up in Los Angeles, California in the early 1960s, there was a stereotype that I didn't want to be black, I didn't want to be African because we come from Africa or we're slaves. So I want to be a Chinese boy, I want to be Bruce Lee. So growing up like that, I didn't like myself and who I was. I didn't like the color of my skin or the way that I spoke. So I emulated other people. I wanted to be something that I was not.
It's very saddening when you can literally only go back a couple generations and then it's like, the documents just don't exist. There's no record. It's like, my family has completely been erased. In that same point too, in the time that we've been here, we've created incredible culture, and we have so many things to be proud of. And I always reframe the narrative myself, and I speak of my ancestors that were enslaved as, doctors and healers, and it's like, we were taken because we were talented, because we had skills to offer, and we built this country, so.
And still building.
And still building, and that's something to take pride in, so.
Can the disagree step forward?
Slavery didn't affect my family, but we did suffer a different type of slavery back home. Like, we went through colonization. Like, I am Bamileke. There was a massacre of Bamileke. You guys can look it up. They killed more than 300,000 of my people because we didn't want to assimilate to the French culture. But it's still nothing compared to what you guys' ancestors been through,
I wouldn't want to minimize that pain, though. What you just said hurt me. That 300,000 people were killed because they would not conform to the colonization of the French people. So that is just as painful and hurtful as the trauma that we suffered here in America.
I can't share the same experience that you have went through and your family, even though we also had our own type of slavery. We had apartheid at the time, where the Dutch people took over and they wanted to just have South Africa, Namibia, and I think other countries where we could only just speak Dutch. It's somehow still happening even now. There's a place in South Africa where it's called Orania, and it's just Dutch people there. No black person is even allowed there. So we still somehow feel that oppression even now, but it's nothing compared to what your ancestral history, has gone through. I'm somehow happy that you guys have forgiven it, even though you haven't forgotten it. Have you forgiven it? I mean, the face
Do that. But me personally, no, I haven't. But I want to work through the change. But no, I have not forgiven because it's a system that's still going on. And from what I'm hearing from you guys, there's a system that's still going on in Africa as well, and it's a war on us.
Racism is the main cause.
So the first thing was about slavery. And so through that particular understanding, a lot of those things I couldn't have said better myself. There's a history of Caucasians that have come in to colonize and seek to steal land and cause issues. They have caused many issues from abuse to stolen land and have actually slowed people. Their actual objective is to teach us to conform to their ways or remove us from our planet. And I believe that is completely wrong. And some people might actually literally beg to differ, might actually say that no, that's not what they were planning on doing. However, those are probably also the people that are not suffering through the issues. Those are the people that don't remember that these people are coming in and capturing people and bringing them from one place to the other. They're the ones that don't actually remember that they're going in and actually manipulating somebody to negotiate, to steal human bodies, and actually performing by stealing human bodies, literally hunting them, literally poisoning them, literally hypnotizing kings and people, lead tribesmen, and putting them under negative pretenses in order to steal human bodies. Bringing them back to the United States of America, utilizing those human bodies for slavery, and then a long time teaching them that they are superior for being capable of committing those abuses, while at the same time shunning these same individuals when they take a proper stance.
Cause of poverty among black people in America.
So next thing, racism is the main cause of poverty among black people in America.
Racism is a very big issue that talking about it, I'm really trying to be careful to not like say anything that will be insensitive. If opportunity is right here, they will give it to people of other race than African American and Africans too. So if there's a job that maybe have math requirement, I feel like they'll pick an Asian person, or they believe, oh, African Americans will not dress appropriate, so they will pick another person. They will always like pick people that are not black over people that are black.
And I also think, I think the crucial missing point when we talk about economic disparity, time. Time is the most valuable currency. And if you have a stock that's like the American dream is the stock, and during all that time, all that asset, the American dream was appreciating, and you're not allowed to take out business loans, you're not allowed to read, you're not allowed to write, you had to first fight to become 3/5 of a citizen, then you got Jim Crow, and then you got everything else. It's like you're now having to buy in at a price so high because the time is irreparable. You can't get that back. One black person today cannot, in one lifetime, achieve what generations of white families were able to do simply because they didn't have to compete with us to do it.
Yeah, I agree with you totally.
Yeah, I was thinking, just like you said, from a historical standpoint, we start with slavery, then that's centuries, generations of stolen labor, like you said. Then we get into Jim Crow, which is just an extension of that. Then we have redlining, we have mass incarceration, we have events like the bombing of Tulsa and Rosewood in Florida, and all these different examples of our wealth being decimated. And I don't say that to come from a defeatist or a victim mindset, but I think if we just have an honest conversation about history and what we've gone through when we've been here, racism is definitely a big part of that. And there are a lot of successful Black Americans, a lot of millionaires, a lot of business owners, but they're exceptions for sure for a reason. And there's a big difference between income and wealth. I would like to challenge the ideal that African Americans are lazy or that we don't have a good work ethic. I think there's this perception that, we're here, we're in America, how are we not doing better for ourselves?
So in this understanding, they are saying that they believe that racism is a main cause of poverty. And I believe that racism is actually a cause, but I don't think it's the main cause. I believe that the main cause is one. First of all, we need to go back to slavery to even form this understanding. Okay? And the reason that we're still suffering as a whole is because of the way the system progressed after slavery. So we are aware of that. Racism is a huge and detailed understanding layer as to why this is actually occurring in the fashion that it has. However, where I come to a disagreement is not that I don't side with you on that as a major point, but I don't think it's the main cause. I think the main cause is lack of intelligence. I think the actual main cause is literal incompetence. I think the main cause doesn't have anything to do with racism. I think the main cause is the people that perpetrate racism are not very intelligent. And although it seems that they've been smart enough to trap us and cause our unstable progress and literally kill hundreds of thousands of people like the people we're talking about, and millions upon that, I don't believe it's because of racism that we're stuck. I believe that, one, lack of intelligence, and two, far too much acceptance. And I think a lot of the times the acceptance comes from fear. And literally, as we progress into position, we find that there are individuals literally in position. I can give you several examples as the author of A Leap and a Fall, where at the bottom of the economy, there are issues where there are people of melanin who are actually in control of these situations. actually taking an advanced understanding, but still continue to allow issues to occur, right? Instead of combating these issues and making sure that they don't actually happen, not taking a very dominant standpoint until the advanced notion to ridicule or to penalize or to hold them accountable or to threaten them is the concern, right? But then they hold these dominant positions, management, supervisor, director, and they're people of melanin, and have the nerve to want to combat an individual who is at the level of argument, who needs to receive these particular services and cause their cause their demise, remove them from the situation and cause them to belittlement, basically, through doing the right thing. I'm not even talking about through doing the wrong thing at this point. I'm talking about through literally doing the right thing, right? Taking the right stance, making the right projections, saying the truth versus the lie. Consistent. Let's continue.
I thought I was going to be the only one staying. I was going to be like, oh, I'm about to be like Kanye West. But, okay, there's a lot of things we can use as an excuse to hold us back, to not to reach our potential. But it's up to us to look past that. You know, like me coming from Africa, I came here to better my life, my family. I'm the only one here. And since I have been here, there's a lot of bad things that happen to me. There's also a lot of good things that happen to me. Us African or African American, we need to like look past like racism and like just focus on our own goal. Like, what do we want to achieve? We need to stop using the word racism when we don't get something or when something don't go our way, and just keep trying. You know.
So let me jump in real quick. No disrespect, but racism exists, and I have to acknowledge it. And I can't just ignore it, but what I can do is not buy into the system. You know, if I want to do something, let me be the entrepreneur. What I believe happened in the 1960s is that we started looking for equal rights, to be equal with other people. And what we stopped doing, and I heard you talk about Tulsa, we stopped using the black-owned businesses. Now, because you guys got to understand, the Fair Housing Act in 1968, I'm 5 years old. That's when we could move off the east side of LA and move into other subcultures. So what I wanted to do at 8 years old was go to IHOP. I didn't want to go to the Ma and Pa restaurant anymore. I wanted to go to, let's go eat at the hotels. So what we did is stop supporting each other and started supporting corporate America. So the racism plays a major part, but we don't have to buy into it.
Okay, so he brings a valid point, and every single one of these people that speaks, every single time, has an actual answer, okay? And so this is why I adore conversations like this, because this is the it, you know what I mean? This is the stuff that we need to be drawing as a concern and understanding. But let's come to grips with another understanding. It has been hundreds of years, okay? And there are definitely people in position today that are ridiculing of our stance. We have literally come so far to be in a position of a new economy and really requiring, demanding reparations and literally looking for the proper answer and being illegitimately shunned, told that it's not even a proper answer to be asking for something. People actually acting like they're historians and going back and saying that it didn't happen the way that we think. While we got fucking pictures of the brutality, while we have understanding, myself, even today, I have authoritative digital evidence that has remained non-manipulated that shows, even though we have come into position as people of advanced melanin, many of them ADOS, many of them African descendants of enslavement, and they have enabled and allowed these things to occur. Let me offer you some examples. In the shelter home, I have actually been homeless in a homeless position for the last 4 years. I am right now transitioning. Okay? And literally in the homeless shelter, I have found drugs. I have found people coming into the homeless shelter who are checking for people who owe them money for drugs. I have been inside the homeless shelter and watched people ready to perform homosexuality to receive drugs. I have been attacked in a fashion that actually depicts sexual molestation from another man, and for the life of me, for the understanding, I did knock him out just so that I would not be thrown onto the streets. And through reporting these issues, have had to seek help by management, people who I believe are ADOS, African descendants of enslavement, who preferred not to do anything. And they didn't do the right thing when I waited to bring it to their attention. They didn't do anything when I took a small amount of time to bring it to their attention. And they didn't do the right thing immediately when I told them that a violation was occurring. Each and every single time, they pointed the finger at me as if I was the cause of the fucking issue. And so it's a lot of incompetence going on. It moves not only from the homeless shelter into this position where I am today, where there has been many violations, reckless endangerment, violation of policy, people selling drugs right in front of my window. Threats. I've been threatened twice. Somebody kicked on my door, and another person actually threatened me with a table size, a bat-sized table leg, and chased me around my uncle's vehicle when he was only here. My uncle was only here to offer me nourishment. And the words of exchange between me and the person that chased me around that vehicle were minuscule. Little to none. Reasoning of none. And not only did the reason that did not occur to make somebody threaten me in that fashion not reside within the management to cause them to literally get rid of that person, but they enabled and allowed that person to threaten me and be in position where I'm leaving the apartment building and coming back in. And so having to count on ourselves to literally analyze these situations properly and take mental note that they are in position even today at this level especially, where we need that type of help, people of melanin, and still allowing the drugs to flow, participating in the drugs in some cases, literally sickening people who are sickening together. And then have the nerve to actually point the finger at you for knowing what to do, doing the right thing, and then having a dominant attitude about it when it comes to grit, when it comes to possibility, right? And note that these aren't the only things occurring, right? So it's not just the violations here. As an aspiring entrepreneur myself, I'm also combating people in position in the companies as I'm reaching out. So yes, they are 100% when they say that these issues are still existing. But again, I don't think it's racism that is the problem. I think it's extreme incompetence that turns into a problem of of color when you stand up for the right thing. Because it doesn't even matter if those people are ADOS. They're still reaching for the Caucasoid prejudiced individual to ask a question to check your ass. As if you're supposed to be some kind of a happy citizen through incompetence. Well, the rest of the people that are involved or inside of the establishment, this is an apartment facility, are reaching for drugs, reaching for alcohol, reaching for violence, reaching for dirt, actually committing offenses on a consistent basis, and they're just going, it's the nature of the people that we cater to. And you just have to go through it while you're trying to reach the next level. I could give you the next level thought twice where they have actually they have caused a concern, actually more than twice, 3 times where they have actually caused a concern. One time I was receiving assistance through an organization that helps people get an apartment, right? Because I want to go to the next level. And when you know, as soon as they're telling me I get an apartment, there's a person outside yelling at a female, yelling at another female. When I open the door, she's half-assed naked from the bottom down, yelling at this other female. I'm telling you that the things that I'm telling, these are not just lack of understanding. I have video evidence of this occurring. Okay, I have posted that on Facebook under a page called Violations, where you can go right into Facebook, type in Violations, and find that page and look at all of the issues that are actually occurring. So when you start saying that these things aren't happening, and they aren't related necessarily, I can but the problem is that the people at the top level are literally enabling and allowing these problems to occur, and the people in the middle are doing the exact same thing. So as long as you reach position and you don't start standing for the right thing when it's time, they're going to continue to occur, right? And the best answer is to combat it with the proper answer. If you're in position, if you're in position and you're not standing for the right thing when it's time to stand for the right thing, that you go through the problem for as long as the people that you're causing the issue with. Let's continue.
I've been waiting to disagree with you, my brother. I'm waiting patiently. The thing is, even though I want to disagree with you, I get where you're coming from. When I see black people talking about racism, all that stuff, I'm like, what is wrong with these people? You guys have food, you have EBT, all this thing, and you're here shouting about somebody is racist too. Just leave that person and move on. I feel that way. Like, why are they always like complaining? But when Black Lives Matters started happening, like, I sat down, I said, I need to actually know why these people are pained. And if we look at the history, what they've done to them, like if you actually sit down, watch some documentaries, how they were maltreated, I don't think if I'm actually born, I will forgive those people. I don't care. It's easier for us Africans that were raised in Africa to feel like they're complaining because we were raised through struggle. Like, I barely even have water, and you have water, you're complaining. But then, it's not about the basic necessity or about how we are raised. We are raised like, I don't want to say way better. We might not have resources, but there are some way, like our own people will not look down on us or put us behind. So it's in they're nurtured that way. Like, they just can't overlook it. And if you sit down and watch everything that the forefathers have been through for real, I changed my mind. No, they need to be angry. However, they should still move forward.
I mean,
And so that's another great point. And I say kudos to how she brings it to the table that they're raised differently. They're raised to respect their men, right? They're raised to see wealth and try to seek wealth. They're raised to do those types of things. They're raised to be treated properly or leave the situation, period. Okay? And there's nothing, for me, there's nothing wrong with that, because we are right now in a society where TV raises the kids. And if they don't know the answer, they don't seek to find the answer. They actually ask somebody. Got to ask somebody. Right? Right? And then when it comes down to having to ask somebody, then the answer could come back negatively, and they're willing to perform. Right? So no, take mental note. Know that these things are still occurring, and there's a large amount of people that understand, but still, as we try to progress, there's those people who are more numbers in position, willing to settle for less. And that's where I draw the line. Because I don't get in position and expect to dwell in a negative position for a long period of time. It's never enough. That's what capitalism is about. So when we bring up racism and all that kind of stuff, and it is the truth, and it is the reality, and there are many layers, and that is the reason that there's a larger portion of people suffering from the issue, the main cause is definitely not race. The main cause is incompetence. The main cause is the incompetence of the individual that is stealing your property because they can't think of the intellectual property that you can. The incompetence of the individual that utilizes violence to remedy the situation in a situation where they're not even having violence perpetrated against them. The problem of the individual who is in position supporting the person who is at the higher level, who has a problem finding that information and is willing to go out and perpetrate these offenses to cause the reality, and so on and so forth, till it makes it to the bottom level, and there's still people of African descent in some cases, people of melanin, which another major problem. She was talking about Black Lives Matter. One of the major issues, we fail to even recognize that the fact that they're calling us black is a problem in itself. The difference between black and white, well, what is that actually? So you start using the proper language, then the proper information resides within the communication. Well, I say I'm a person of melanin. I say I'm an indigenous American of advanced melanin. Right? And then there'll be people of melanin. And then there'll be people of low melanin. And there'll be people of non-melanin. Right? Because we identify by our DNA. Just stop me when I'm wrong. And please don't be afraid to comment. Again, my name is Prentice Johnson. I am the author of A Leap in the Fall. I'm utilizing A Leap in the Fall to offer reparations to African descendants of enslavement. It's a multi-trillion-dollar answer that I'm still reaching out to find individuals to assist in trying to build. But unfortunately, the people that I'm around are too incompetent to even realize what to contribute to. They'd much rather receive donations and keep the money from the donation than make sure that people are housed properly and safe and provided the right amount of food. And trust me when I say that is not happening here. Let's continue.
We have police brutality back home too.
True.
We have, like, if you go to Cameroon and then you see how the police officer treat us, and they're black just like us, you're not even gonna believe it, you know. And in Cameroon we have this. Have you guys heard of the word like tribalism? So
yeah, it happens in Nigeria.
Yeah, so we do get oppressed too. And
I agree.
so when I'm saying like we need to like look past that, I'm not saying forget what happened to you guys or me. At the end of the day, we cannot just sit and just grieve on the past. We have to be able to move on, but not forget. If I could choose a place to live, it would obviously be my country. I love my country, but right now, my country is not the best choice for me. There's a little genocide going on in Cameroon right now. So many innocent lives are being taken. If I was still in my country, the opportunity that I have here, I would not have those opportunities there.
Hip hop reinforces stereotypes about the black community.
This is a very interesting thought right here. We start talking about hip hop and how it affects people in the black community. Right? Hip hop is all over the world now. Right? It started 50 years ago, and again, happy birthday to hip hop. I am celebrating by offering a top 20 hip hop GOAT question to every person who adores hip hop. Who is your top 20 hip hop candidates? Man, look for the hashtag. It will be going on, and it will be going on through this year and next year. Okay, so I want it to grow. I want it to be a way to build a fan base. I want everybody to participate. I want to get the word out. I want to make sure it happens properly. So know that this is actually going on as well. And hip hop is our culture. And we have to understand that in order to progress, because hip hop actually welcomes the entire world. The problem is, there are people in society that don't like to offer the entire world just because of the amount of melanin the body is actually projecting.
In South Africa, we have our own version of hip hop, so we call it Kwaito. So they would rap in our own language, we call it Vernac. So back home, it kind of did reinforce some stereotypes, because now when you go out in the world, people will just classify you under one group. And growing up, also looking at American entertainment, looking at the hip hop that's done here, I'm like, oh well, you're rapping about drugs, you're rapping about this. Of course it's going to happen. Of course you're going to go to jail. But getting older, you see the culture as well of hip hop. I had to understand that there's a culture within that.
I was alive when hip hop started, and it was during a time where people rapped about what they saw, what they wanted in life. And then it became where people rapped about what they had been through, what they had gotten over, used to sell drugs, used to hurt people, but now this is who they are. And I think it's gotten into now, and in our day and age now, it's where people are glorifying and wanting to pretend that these are the things that they do on a daily basis when it's not. So it went from storytelling to now really it's truly storytelling, but it's unhealthy for our culture.
I don't want to on my radio and all I'm hearing is, I put a bullet in it, something. Like, I'm like, that's what you would do? No, like, and then it's all about like talking about female body type, the booty, the thing, like, don't talk about my booty like that. So I don't want to listen to something that portray me as a female that way, or something that is talking about how you put bullets in my head. Like, if you actually do not come to America and see for yourself, you will think that most African Americans are carrying guns around and they just shoot randomly, or they just grab your ass or something like that. That's the way the music portray them. And music is a very important element in our society because it influences a lot of people, both young and adult, and then they kind of see all those stuff and they act like that, even though that's not what they really want to be. They act like that and behave like that. Like if all these rappers are your role model, then you want to be like them. You want to be cool too. So in the end, it's about like the people that are packaging the music, and sometimes about trend is what people want to hear.
The American dream is only for white people.
Okay, I just kind of messed up trying to communicate with somebody important at the same time. So these are things that we need to understand, and it is a serious and issue. It's a serious and complex issue when we are in a situation forming an understanding that intellectual property is our best option, and literally ridiculing our entire existence because that's what's actually going on around us. And the way that they stated it is 100%. It started out talking about ourselves and things that we like and things that we dislike. And then it turned into talking about what they left behind, and then what they, participated in, so on and so forth, and then all the way now to today's type of rap, stuff that they're actually perpetrating, or stuff that just happened yesterday around the block. Right? And it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's literally, it defeats its purpose. Okay? Because when I listen to hip hop, I cannot even tell you a lie. I identify it in a fashion that makes me want to take a stance. It makes me angry sometimes. At 50 years old, I can still say when I listen to certain lyrics, I want to behave in a negative fashion. That doesn't make hip hop negative. That doesn't change the narrative of what hip hop actually is. It doesn't change the narrative of what the song was put out for and through. But it does affect people in that fashion. And it's people of all kinds. Okay? And you just note at the same time that there are people in control of these situations where literally they could actually cause and affect the existence of the entire structure, but choose to take these negatives and put them out there in the airwaves for us to absorb. Now, note the seriousness. If you are aware that this is what occurs as a human being, then you opt to change that as your pattern. Okay? Because there's very violent projections on television and on social media on a constant basis. Okay? But, I think sometimes it further causes separation, and it leads to media in general. Okay? Because a lot of times you don't recognize those people from Africa as your brother and sister. Instead, you're doing drugs and you don't want them to interfere. You don't recognize those people as your potential mate. Okay? And that comes in all forms, right? The Willie Lynch syndrome, right? Where we start ridiculing and combating our elders. We stand in the same skin color and look at somebody else and have the nerve to say that they're no good. Until they actually prove that they're no good. Or we sit as people of advanced melanin, knowing that all of these people are literally of us, allowing people of melanin to ridicule us, and forming a prejudice, racial communication against them as well. Okay, so I mean, we need to form this as an understanding. The next part is the American dream is only for white people. Is that true? Is the American dream only for white people? I am an African, I am an American indigenous. I was born here. So is the American dream, and what is the American dream? How do you define it? It's a good question.
I believe that the American dream is only for white people because it says equal. And when we talk about equal, there's no equality between the 1%, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Trumps, and the people who really run the media and things of that nature. So for black people growing up in America and living in America, we could become rich, we could become wealthy, but we are not on the equal playing field of white America. The system of white supremacy, which is in the law enforcement, which is in the judicial system, which is in the prison industrial association, also in the politics. We are not equal in any of those terms.
When I was back there and when you were speaking, I started thinking, like, could we ever actually, as black people, have the American dream here in America? And I don't know if we really can, I'm trying to be careful with my words, but I do think there needs to be a degree of separatism. Like, black people, we really need to have our own to fully take part in that dream.
This is their system.
Yeah.
Why would we dream of being equal in a system that wasn't designed for us?
The American dream, at least the way that I define it, is, freedom of opportunity, freedom to choose what I want to do, freedom to acquire wealth the same way that anybody else can. Obviously, we're fighting the tides of time on that and our circumstances, but it's hard because it's hard to honor that, but then also want more for myself. And I think that as black people, we're always teeter-tottering on that line of like, well, am I American? Like, do I get the American dream, or do we just tear all this down and build something new? White people are not the only people entitled to the American dream ever. Yeah. And I think that that's why we're all here, because our ancestors made it so that we can stand here and pursue that American dream.
I wouldn't have been here if it meant that it was not for everyone. I wouldn't have even entered America. I feel like not just African, but other people as well in different countries. And from what I have seen, I've seen other people, even Africans and African Americans, succeeding in their own way. And that's why I feel like you said, you can interpret the American dream in a different way, whatever industry or whatever it is that you're focusing on, because there is a level of opportunity there. There is some way that you can be successful. Talking about Trevor Noah, who took over The Daily Show, it wouldn't have been possible for him coming in as an African. He got his American dream. It made us as well, other Africans, believe that it is possible.
The American dream writes his check. So he gets to have wealth or whatever it is that he's experiencing, but the American dream is the one who writes his check, not him.
I agree with you.
So that's another great. These commenters are great. So you know that they've been through something and are capable of actually seeing what's actually going on. I think it comes to an answer of changing your level of argument and the way you communicate, and a realization that it's actually occurring. There's far too many issues. The way that it boils down is when these understandings start to be projected, it becomes a very long and drawn out conversation. But in this particular theory, the American dream, is it only for white people? I'm sure a lot of white people would tell you yes. Okay? But you have to know for yourself that it's not, as long as you are an American, and that, I think that even causes some separation. Everybody has their own dream. Now for me, you got to note that it's never going to be enough. Okay? It's never going to be, oh, you made your first 100,000, it's not going to be enough. Oh, you made your first million, oh, it's not going to be enough. You made 100 million, it's not going to be enough. Okay, so I mean, I'm not going to be the individual that says, okay, well, guess what? It's, I'm content. It's never going to be enough. Okay, and the only thing that for me, regarding the American dream, will be enough is the right woman who caters to my goals of catering to her. And that's it. Okay, so when it comes down to this American dream, what is the American dream? It needs to be defined. And I think we need to start changing our understanding regarding, because there are a lot of things and concerns that are not being addressed when we talk about the American dream. Equality, none of us are equal. Not one of us. As long as we consider ourselves unique and we don't look exactly alike and we don't think in the exact same way, we will never be equal. Okay? But there needs to be an equal playing field. Okay? And with that said, the amount of well-being that is offered to an individual at a lower income level is a problem. It's a concern, and it's worse when we start adding technology. And if you don't start realizing that technology could be the failing answer to society, then you're going to fail yourself. Because that was actually when there is no color. And there's only a color by way of who is in control. And 99% of the people that are in control of the new economy are people of low melanin and non-melanin. So if you don't realize this, man, you got to come to grips with this as an answer, because they will actually tell you that that is the wrong answer. They'll tell you that it's Asian people that created it, while they're stealing the shit, putting it in their pocket. Not only are they stealing the economy, but they're stealing your money at the same time. Okay? Every person has the right to reach their full potential. The First Amendment should not be the right to voice your opinion, because there are too many times where there shouldn't be an opinion. All right? So, I mean, you have to come to grips with the reality of the situation. If you haven't thought about these things, they need to be thought about. Let's continue.
But do you see how we would put it as he had his American dream, even though someone writes his check? But for him, or for some of us looking at it on the other side, that's his American dream, because his goal was to get there. The biggest cultural shock I saw coming here was definitely the lifestyle. Because the lifestyle I saw of America, especially Los Angeles, was portrayed as a very rich lifestyle. And of course, I came here as a student, and coming here, living here, and seeing the reality of it, seeing different homeless people, disadvantaged people, was really a cultural shock for me, because I didn't expect to see that. And I guess also the way people were handling each other, because coming in as an African, I thought people were together. But since being here, I saw that there was a huge divide, or there is still a huge divide within the African American community themselves.
If he had stayed in South Africa, would he have the same opportunity that he had here?
No.
Like, so corporate is writing his check, but like us growing up, the reason we move here is because we don't have it better back home. Like for me, I'm the first person ever in my family in America. Everybody else is back home. Everybody's depending on me. Like, all of them, my mom, she's dying to come here. Like, she's willing to do anything just for her to be in America. So for me, when I look at those like little things, I'm like, yeah, American dream is for everybody, Like, yeah, we might not have the same opportunity as the white people, but there's still that little chance that a lot of us back home are willing to take just to get here.
I trust law enforcement.
So this is huge. And there's another segment after that. So I advise you go ahead and go to Jubilee and take a listen and listen to the whole thing. It's only 20 minutes long, man. If you listen to me, you could definitely listen to that. All right? I appreciate anybody who's watching, and hey, blessings and success.